So in this second video of our XPath locators, working with XPath locators, we will start with how to work with logical operators. So we can combine the different identification attributes with O locators if you want to get an element with matching either of the attributes, or first one or second one. If anyone matching, this will return the element. For an example, now this one, we have our username and password. For username, we have ID as username, and our placeholder will be enter your username. And for the password, our ID will be password, and placeholder will be enter your password. So what we do is, like, we identify an element with the input, with the way to give the XPath to use O operator will be as / tag. Within square brackets, we give the first XPath or the second XPath. So in this case, / our tag is input. Okay, both elements, like it's input, and we give at ID equals username, so that will identify this element, the first one, username. But if we just, for the practicing purposes, if we give O and we say contains, we can use the contains keyword we described earlier in the first video, contains at placeholder password. So that will get the contains placeholder password will get this element. So when we combine it with O, we will get two elements with this XPath string. So first, let's say for an example, if I give this one, see, you can see we identify both username and password. So perhaps if I give only this one, input ID username, it match the username one. But when we insert O and contains placeholder password, it will identify both because it's using O operator. Either one will be returned. So that's an example of using O. So similarly, we can use the AND operator to identify an element which matches both the XPath strings. So in this example, what we have done is, like, we have used input contains class form control LG. The form control LG that we return two elements. The username and password both has the form control LG, so it will return two elements. But when we combine it with AND and we give contains at placeholder username, it now will help to identify this username element only, because the placeholder username will only contain in this username element, not in the password. So when we give this string, the input contains class form control LG, this will identify both the elements, username and password, but with AND and contains placeholder username, it will give the username. If we use AND contains placeholder password, it will give the password element. Okay, so that's the usage of AND. Okay, if we can't directly identify some elements, we can use this way. Okay, if you give input contains at class form control LG, it will identify both the elements, username and password. But when we give like this, it will identify only the username. So when I change this to password, it will identify only the password. So now you know that we can use O and AND logical operators when we construct XPath string to identify the elements as well. So other way is, like, we can use the relationships to identify elements. So we can use following, okay, following and following sibling, preceding sibling, okay, child, parent, descendant, and ancestor to identify the relations. So following means, if you identify the following, that means first we identify a particular element, okay, which known element, and we try to traverse to some element which we can't identify directly. Maybe the attributes are changing. So what we can do is, like, the usage of following is, we first identify this element, and the other element that we want to locate is after that element anywhere. It can be child, it can be under that element, or it can be totally different section, but still it's below this particular element. So in that case, the syntax will be, we first give the XPath to element that we know, we can identify, and we give the // we use the following keyword, and we give : then we give the tag name, the next tag name we want to traverse to our element we want to locate, and we give that XPath. Okay, for an example, now we have this our UL, the select list here. Okay, this UL, we identify this entire select list, and we want to get something following input. That means, you know, here also we had some inputs, the username, password. So if you give just input, it will identify these inputs as well. But now we want some input which comes after this select list. So that is, for that we use the following input. Okay, following input. If we do like this, we will get 3 input. So that this is the first one, this is the second one, login button, and this is the third one. These inputs, the username and password inputs, will not be identified because we want to get only, we give it as following input. So that means it will only identify the input tags which comes after this session location UL. Okay, so that is the usage of following. If it is a following sibling, that means it's not that it's just coming after this known element. It should be known element and it comes after that. That's correct, but it is after that, but it should be a sibling of that element, that is at the same level, same parent. Okay, same parent, it's come from the same parent, so it will be same level. So for an example, syntax will be same. Okay, so for an example, now this one, we identify this isolation element using li contains at id isolation. So if it contains isolation, so this element is identified. So these are the siblings. Okay, these are the siblings, same level, same level. So if we say following sibling or the preceding sibling, we identify now following sibling li. Okay, following sibling, this tag will be li. It identified 4 elements. So after isolation, it's following, because of following sibling, it is sibling after isolation word and only the siblings. So this laboratory, outpatient clinic, pharmacy and registration desk are the siblings. Outpatient clinic, pharmacy, registration desk are the siblings. So these 4 siblings will be identified. So for an example, this one, you have some unique way to identify, but these 4 elements, it's a bit difficult. Maybe some ID is not unique or something. So you can still use the following sibling to identify. The syntax will be same, known element / following sibling, and we give the tag name. Okay, we can use index to identify the necessary one. So likewise, for the preceding means the first one is the following we use. Following is some element of it, the element we are looking for comes after that. If we use the preceding, it shows, it means that this element will come before our known element. So I will use the same example, that's session location UL. Okay, so these inputs, earlier we saw the following, we got 3 inputs after this session location, and if we use the preceding tag, and if you give input, it will now give you 2 inputs that are the password and username inputs. Okay, preceding, the password and input, these are coming, this input comes before the session location. That's why this preceding. And if it is following, that will give this after that, after the session location, after that whatever comes as input, it will give like that. So preceding can be used to identify any element comes before the known element. So that is preceding. Same syntax, known element / preceding. So preceding sibling is like the following sibling. Following sibling is element, it should be a sibling, but after that. So preceding sibling means before that. So we have the outpatient clinic. I'm identified as contains at ID outpatient, the outpatient clinic. And when I use the preceding sibling, it will give siblings comes before the outpatient clinic. So it is like inpatient clinic, isolation ward and laboratory. Earlier we show that it's from the isolation, it's the other for laboratory, outpatient clinic, pharmacy registration box is because it's the following sibling. If it is preceding sibling, it will be before that. Okay, so that is the preceding sibling, and syntax will be same. And we use the child and parent. So child means like it is some element and other element should be children. So this is the parent we identify, and we give child and li. We will get all the 6 elements of these elements children. Okay, these are child, only child level, no other level. If it is parent, it will be the parent level. So for an example, we identify one element like outpatient. Okay, it identify outpatient, so parent will be this one, the session okay, so this is parent. We have to give the tag name, so it will identify that parent. So if it is like some with some UL with ID session location, the same parent exists somewhere else also, but from the, if the child is unique, from the child we can identify the parent. So similar thing we can use to identify descendant and ancestors, but I will describe those things and the replay of this video in the next video. Thank you.